All right, everybody, it is 11:30, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce our next session. We have the grant recipient success stories with Lee, Ringo, and Johari Cole. So going to introduce both of them real quick if you're not familiar with them or their work, and then I will let them take it away. So Lee, Ringo, and Johari Cole-Kweli will discuss two grants that they have successfully secured for their work with Pembroke Hopkins Park Community Development Corporation, PHP-CDC for short. So the Energizing Rural Communities grant through the DOE awarded them $100,000 for phase one, which positions the team to potentially receive an additional $200,000 for phase two, enabling them to advance clean energy initiatives through capacity building, education, and outreach. The second grant is a technical assistance grant from the DOE. PHP-CDC was selected as one of only 24 communities nationwide to participate in the Communities LEAP program. We're going to hear from these two leaders on how they are able to successfully secure this funding to support their transformative work. They are reimagining grant opportunities for rural, low-income, BIPOC, J40, and small community business orgs. Working with the government is often tedious and unrealistic for the folks who need it most, and this session will leave you feeling hopeful about what is possible, which I think we need after going into all the technical stuff that Jacob just shared with us. So Lee and Johari, I think you are both co-hosts, so you should be able to share your screen, and if you need anything else from me, just let me know.
Thank you so much, Maggie. And thank you, Marnice. Thank you, Jacob. Shout out to the Midwest Coalition. I see some members on here. And thank you for everybody that, is joining us. My name is Lee Ringo. I am the Energy Efficiency Program Manager working with the Community Development Corporation of CDC. And I'm excited to be here. We all know that, when we talk about grants, it can be a daunting task, and it's not even guaranteed. You can spend so much time, putting together a request for proposal, and it's not a guarantee that you're going to get it. So I'm grateful, and I'm excited to be able to share some success on how we were able to garner some funds and secure funding. And what we're going to do is once Johari introduces herself, she'll go a little bit into who the CDC is, and then she'll explain how we were able to secure a technical assistance grant with the Department of Energy, and then I will follow up with how we were able to secure funding with the DOE through their Energizing Rural Communities funds. And then we'll leave you with some information based on our expertise, some workshops that we've been to, and leave you with some knowledge that you can, take with you. So Johari, I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself, and we can get started.
Thank you, Lee. And thank you, everyone, for joining us on this beautiful morning. We have a beautiful fall morning here in the Chicagoland area. And so I hope everybody's having sunshine as well. Yes, so my name is Johari Cole-Kweli. I am the president and managing director of the Community Development Corporation of PHP. We are a community-based organization located in Pembroke Township, which is in Kankakee County, Illinois, but it is a rural community and historically Black African-American community. For nearly 150 years. So just going back a little bit on our story as an organization, we were forged by the voices of the community. I'm one of the original founding members of this organization, and it is a teamwork of volunteers that their sole interest is the betterment and the empowerment and enhancement of our Pembroke Hopkins Park community. So our mission is to advocate for community-based leadership, sustainability, and enrichment within the Pembroke Hopkins Park area, and to preserve and protect its cultural, historical, and environmental legacy. We have a phenomenal, rich history that goes back, like I said, about 150 years of Black farmers, Black ranchers and cowboys, and as well as an environmental legacy that is one very unique of its kind in the rest of the world. So our organization seeks to protect a lot of that, holding on to those legacies, from leadership to all the way through, doing a green economy which couples or complements our need to protect our history and our culture. And one of the things that, the last thing, if you can look at our slide here, the sustain and grow. One of the things that we realize is that we have to build, if we're going to keep the community-based, community-led organization, that that's gonna have to be a pillar to massage it, to keep it going, to make it the forefront of sustainability as well, by seeking grants and capacity building opportunities so that we can hold on to it and continue to do this work. We can't do the work if the organization itself is not in a position to do the work. You can go to the next slide. So as I was saying, just getting a little bit of background of our organization and our community. Our community is a legacy Black, Indigenous, people of color community. So it's a legacy BIPOC community, historically disenfranchised. It is unfortunately was in the heart of the Ku Klux Klan area or territory. And so it received a lot of different things for years, from redlining to just neglect in our community. One of the things we have is high energy burden. If you look onto the right-hand side, 70% of our community is using propane gas tanks, and 9% are wood. That was pretty much flipped if you asked about 50 years ago, where the community was relying on wood stoves to heat their homes. And now there is about 20% of our community is relying solely on electric, and very few, only 1% are actually doing renewables. Very few have solar panels, but they're off the grid and self-reliant in our community. But this particular profile in energy caused the high energy burden, where about 9%, nearly 10% of the annual income goes toward, heating and cooling to heat their homes. And so as a result of that, and a lot of other infrastructural neglects, we are a Justice40 community. We've been recognized as a Justice40 community. So just as I was saying earlier, our organization is, started in the midst of this and we're community-led, community-based, but we have strong partnership and growing community support. You can go to the next slide. One of the things I wanted to talk about is that our organization, one of the focuses of our organization is our clean energy work. And how do we reduce the energy burden in our community? And so we developed with some strong partners that actually brought it to our attention, which is RMI, as well as Midwest Building Decarbonization Coalition a few years ago, to address this energy burden. And so we developed Pembroke, a pilot actually program called Pembroke Energy Efficiency Pilot, which we have successfully completed and are actually revealing a lot of those results now. We actually have 2 more months, or the end of November. Actually, we're in November already. So we'll be getting the final data of our pilot that we worked on, and now we're working on an expansion program. So in our pilot, we worked on 4 homes. We were able to successfully upgrade the homes and retrofit the homes for the 4 homes that we actually completed, and saw seriously some very good cost reductions, as well as quality of life increases. So how do we, the question now is, even in our situation, is how do we continue to move our community into a clean energy future? Well, one of the things we found was that our electric grid wouldn't support an increase in retrofitting. It wouldn't support, it's a very low electric grid. We're a 10th, only we're operating at about 10% compared to our neighboring communities. And so we do not have the capacity to increase to a clean energy transition where electric would be dominant, and of course, even with renewables, it relies on electricity. So one of the things that we did was we actually applied for federal funding, at least technical assistance, to address these issues. And we were able to become one of 22 communities in the country for the technical assistance opportunity with as a communities LEAP program with the Department of Energy. And so we've been partnering with them for over a year now. And they asked us, what did we want technical assistance with? Well, we said we need help with our electric grid. We felt like we had our clean energy programs running pretty smoothly, but we needed assistance with the future if we were going to expand this work. And that's what we wrote about. We expressed in that, in our application for that grant, we expressed, of course, the severity in our community, but also the urgency to keep up with the state and federal demands for reducing fossil fuel across the country. In our state, by 2030, the state wants to decrease fossil fuel dependency by 30%. And we felt like we should be able to do the same thing in our community to keep up with that. So regardless of what our community's preference was for heating and cooling or their fuel source, we wanted to reduce that dependency, the fossil fuel dependency, by 30%. And so just addressing that means taking our pilot and expanding it to about 400 homes. Well, in order to do that, to increase it to 400 homes, we would definitely need to address the electric grid. So that's what we are working on now with our Department of Energy Technical Assistance Grant, is working out modeling and trying to find solutions to increasing the electric grid in our community. The other things that we want to do, because we're on this expansion method, is how do we get recognized and validated? We are a small organization. We don't have a large budget. We have, maybe not the amount of capacity in terms of staff as larger organizations where they even have divisions and departments of different things. We're mostly volunteer, but yet we have heart. We have a heart to actually move this community in the way it needs to go. But how do we get recognized and validated in this renewable and clean energy space is what we're experiencing now, and actually in pushing. And some of those things that I wanted to address on that is being recognized. If you can go back to the previous slide, Lee. I wanted to just, re-emphasizing our profile. That's one of the ways. If all of the grants, we recognize that all of the grants that are out now, our community profile and what we want to do checks off every box that is out there, but yet we are denied a lot of grants. So some we don't get any feedback from. So I definitely recommend everyone to demand feedback on any grants that you are denied. And so that you can follow and see what reasons, because our eyes grow really big, like, why didn't we get this particular grant? We're there. We fit the profile, but that is not always necessarily the reasons for getting a grant. And so we need to recognize some of those other gaps and have support with some of those gaps that are missing out of our applications. And so one of the strong, but definitely you want to move on your strong suits. We're community-led. If you're not community-led, get with organizations that are community-led. We're community-based. Please connect and partner with community-based organizations, no matter how small they are. They're the people on the ground, on the front line, that are actually in the thickets with your residents and the people that you're supposed to serve. One of the things that we continue to have is strong partnerships. And although we knew we couldn't do everything, but our partnerships are very, very strong. And we continue to massage those relationships because that will get you recognized and get you into the doors and opportunities that you need. And finally, which should be the top one, is growing community support. We as an organization, we kind of kept things a little low until we had something to prove to our community that we weren't just a fly-by-night community, just getting money and then doing half a job or hardly a job at all. Our community, remember, has a legacy of disenfranchisement. So many people have tried to help the community and have either they met where it was too big of a problem and they ran off, or they felt it wasn't enough of, they didn't want to invest that much energy into seeing it through. That's one of the reasons why community-based organizations are so profound, and because we have vested interests. We're connected, we're rooted in those communities, and so we're going in for the long haul. So if you're not with the community-based organization, definitely do that. And that's what drives the community support. That's what drives community support and trust in order to be able to do this work. Finally, and I'm going to let Lee speak on the last parts, are one of the things that we found as far as our recognition and validation, and you can go to the next slide, going back to recognition and validation, is that you have to show up loud and proud in these spaces, especially in clean energy work. We take advantage of the conferences going across the country. I think we've participated in maybe 6. We're invited to another one coming up in December, another one coming up in the beginning of the year, some that we've actually spoke at, others that we just participated in. And it branches you out. It allows you to connect with other people, to network, and to see what people are doing around the country that can strengthen your resolve and strengthen your application. Because you're like, oh, we can do that. We need to bring that into our space and try to replicate that. That's excellent information. That's what strengthens your application. So it's not always, the applications are not all, even though you check a lot of those boxes, there's still a lot of gaps that could be filled. And so I wanted to just definitely, so being present at those conferences are very necessary. Even if you can't physically go to them, seek the ones that are online, like this one presented today. So much valuable information. And I'm going to turn it over to Lee to continue. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Johari. And just to kind of piggy off what Johari said, so we had a successful pilot, and we wanted to expand. The community deserves it. They want it. We knew that, going in order to do this, let's just be real, we need the money to do it. And to be quite honest, this grant process is not a simple one. And me being new at it, I came in with so many expectations and a lot of things. So I want to kind of give you all a point of view from someone who's brand new to grant, brand new to non-for-profit organizations and the whole thing, and what it really took to successfully, win a grant prize. So like Johari said, we've applied for so many grants and been told no. And I'm not the type of person that takes no very easy, especially when I know that we have something solid. I know that we have strong proposals, but I really had to learn how to take my emotions out of it. Thing is, there are going to be a lot of no-fos. I mean, and what it is notice of funding opportunities, and no one owes you anything. No one owes you the money. No one, although it's there, and you have strong intent, nothing is guaranteed. So when we got to the Energizing Rural Community Prize, as soon as I seen the description, as soon as I seen the no-fo, in my mind, I'm like, this is it. This is going to do it. This is going to allow us to build our capacity to, scale up from our pilot to a program. So going in, I already had to prepare my mind, like, one, this is not guaranteed, don't have any expectations, but more importantly, make sure you control your emotions while you're submitting the grant. So that kind of reflected in the way the grant was formatted. So going in, and this is something, and I'm not sure listeners, who's done a grant before, what your position is in doing grants. So I will, give like a basic overview of, the things that, the steps that we're taking. And one of the big things is the mindset, go in with the right mindset, because believe it or not, how you feel can actually be reflected on the grant application. So if you're going in with a positive attitude, that's great. And if you're not going in with a great mindset, that can come across in your grant application. Desperation can come across in your grant application. These things are real and these things, can happen. So getting your emotions intact is really, really key. So looking at the Energizing Rural Community Prize, there were two tracks. There was a financial track and there was a partner track. Now, coming off a successful pilot, as Johari mentioned, we have some incredible partners, one being Midwest Department, Midwest, another one being RMI, another one being Slipstream. So I felt like, hey, this partnership track is our lane. This is what we're going to focus on. This is what we're going to do. And then the financial track, we really didn't have a model that was demonstrated for the financial track. But the grant application allowed us to do both tracks, which is great. And I'm going to tell you why. Because although I felt that our partnership track was the strongest route, and we did that request for proposal, we didn't even get that request for proposal. We won the financial track. And I think that we won that because we were on point from A to Z. Trust me, a lot of Johari, she can attest to this, a lot of frustration, a lot of, because we spend so much, I'm talking about days on filling out grant applications just to hear, thank you for your submission. But unfortunately, because you got to keep in mind, these are very competitive. You have hundreds, maybe thousands of applicants, and they only can award a certain amount. So you have to really make sure everything is on point. Do not miss anything. And so what we did was we got the NOFO, which is Notice of Funding Opportunity. And and another thing, do not feel like you have to apply for every single grant. They're going to know if that grant align, they're going to trust me. The people who's reviewing the individuals who are reviewing the grant, they're going to know if you're just coming up with stuff or not. So really focus on things that you have a great chance of doing. So we felt that we had a great opportunity to do this, and we moved forward with it. So coming in with the right mindset, making sure we had structure. I think we didn't allow more than 3 people on the grant because you don't want to have this flowing around in a lot of hands. We focused on 3 people. And we came up with a game plan. Hey, Lee, you're going to do this. Johari, you're going to do this. Phyllis, you're going to do this. And then we're going to review it. And we stuck to that. Definitely stick to your plans. So so getting into the grant, we found that, okay, our initiatives, our problems that we're able to solve aligns with this NOFO. Let's give it a shot. So going in, and when I say about structure, have your structure down, have your processes down, knowing who you're going to communicate with through the grant. If you need to get babysitters, if you need to I had to actually close my room door, put a do not disturb sign on the door. It really gets that detailed when you're applying for grants. And I take it that serious because this is some serious stuff. So my attitude throughout the whole thing, and that's one thing I noticed, my attitude throughout the whole process was different from before. I didn't come in with any expectations. So my emotions were really calm, and I think it reflected throughout the grant. And I came in, and we all came in and decided, let's figure out how we can show value. How can we take the NOFO, present our need, present our solution, and get it across to people who don't know anything about us. And this is where it comes in at. This is our first slide. They don't know you, right? We all had this mindset where we have something great. Everybody should be a part of this. Everybody knows. No, they don't know anything about you. They are human beings sitting at, whatever their desk or whatever they're in, and they're looking at hundreds, thousands of applications. All right. So being on point with everything is, I'm going to stress that a lot. Be on point with everything. They don't know you. So write a grant as if the person reading it does not have a clue what you do. Okay. So that means be concise and detailed. I know that's kind of tricky, but if you can master being concise and detailed, trust me, you're on your way. Okay. And then also do it as if you have 10 seconds to catch and retain their attention. Remember, they go through thousands of applications. How are you going to set yourself apart from anybody else? All right. And that's being creative and being innovative, right? So moving along, create a strong needs assessment and project narrative. Okay. Make sure these things are aligned. Okay. Align the proposed solution with the notice of funding opportunity. That lets the grantor know that, okay, this grant makes sense for them to do. Also, tie measurable goals and objectives to the need statement. Make sure that these are quantitative and qualitative goals, okay? So if, for example, if, be realistic. So example, if the notice for funding is for $200,000, please do not write a grant saying you're gonna go out and retrofit 300 homes, all right? They're not going to take you serious. It doesn't work, okay? So be very realistic, make your goal, which is broader, and make sure you have objectives of how you're going to complete that goal, and be very realistic, okay? Build trust. One thing that we found to help someone who doesn't know you, doesn't know your abilities, doesn't know your capabilities, build trust. That means highlight your partnerships. We leveraged our partnerships within this grant. And luckily for us, the people that we're partnership, the organization that we're partnership with, they're big names in this space. So that gave us credibility. I'm sure that gave us credibility with the, ones who were reviewing the applications. And do not, and this is one thing I had to learn the hard way. Okay, our intent is one thing. You can tell someone what you're going to do, but don't just say that. All right, tell them how you're going to do it. Tell them who's going to be involved. Give them specific timelines. Be very specific in what you're going to do. Do not leave anything open-ended, all right? Make sure you're checking off every box that you can, okay? How we're going to do this. These are the number of people who's going to be involved. This is the organization that's going to be involved. This is what they're going to do. And this is the reason why we chose them. We chose them because they are expert in this field. We chose them because they have, X, Y, and Z. And tell them a timeline. Don't just be broad. Don't say we're looking to do this, boom, boom. Give them realistic timeframes and be honest. Don't, I know when writing grants, you want to come off as, superheroes, and just be honest, all right? We're all human. The people who's reviewing your grants, they're human. And believe it or not, they'll appreciate that, okay? So be honest. And the biggest thing what we learned, just going to workshops and just tapping into, how do you create a successful, request for proposal? The budget, a lot of outfits get, a red check on this budget right here. So you really want to make sure that you have a comprehensive budget and everything needs to be justified. I think the standard is, so if you start off with $100,000 grant, for example, you want to take 10% of that for indirect costs. That's kind of standard. Not saying that that's going to be enough, but that gives them, that lets them know that, okay, they know what they're doing. They immediately took out 10% for indirect costs, which would be $10,000. And then the budget will fall into staff, materials and everything else. So another big part is leveraging other funds. They like to see, are you using any other funding, or are you only dependent on these funds? Are you, tell us about, and they may not say this, but go be proactive. Tell them, hey, we anticipate these funds, or we have these funds set aside that will couple this grant. And then another big one is request only what you need. They know this too. I don't know, what they use to break this stuff down, but say for instance, if a grant is $500,000 and your project narrative only justifies about $200,000, they're gonna know right then and that's a red flag. And remember, you don't want red flags. You want them to look at everything and be like, they're on point, they're on point, they're on point, they're on point. Because the red flag can easily just, get your application set to the side. So request only what you need. And I know that can be hard because you want to get the most of what you need, but just be realistic in what you're requesting. So I feel like we can do a whole workshop. I know we're limited on time. I definitely want to leave some room for some questions. We're actually probably out of time, but here's how you can find us. Here's some QR codes. who we are, or basically explain the CDC outside of just energy efficiency. CDC does so much for the community, and you'll get a glimpse of that through the Here We Are video. And then here's a QR code for the website. Go on the website. It will tell you more about the PEAP program. It'll give you access to the documentary. I'm happy. I'm in a position where I'm happy to assist anyone who wants additional information or resources on how this stuff works. Connect with me. And I have no problem with talking to you. And I know it's 11 o'clock, and I wanted to leave some room for Johari if she had anything else to say. But thank you all for listening to me.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you. I was just looking at, just someone asked, did we have experience with no's? Did we experience no's because we had no funding experience in the beginning of our efforts? And I wanted to say, no, that wasn't the case with us. And excuse me if you hear dogs in the background. I'm at a tea shop location. But no, that we had experience with funding from other programs that we did. But one of the things that we're trying to explain too through this seminar is that I think the arrogance of thinking that we could get those particular grants based on our profiles are, led to us not thoroughly explaining our position and our needs. And I think that like Lee said, it's a mindset change that needs to happen. So only because you check those boxes off does not mean that you'll get the application if you're not going to explain the details and be realistic in your approach. So that's what I wanted to share with people as an end. So thank you for listening, everyone.